When the autumn leaves begin to fall, Rosh Hashanah is coming soon. My name is Mercedes Cohen, and today I'm going to be baking some challah in the round shape for Rosh Hashanah, and I will show you how to use the bread machine, and then when the dough is completed in the bread machine, how to form it and bake it in the oven. So let's get started. The ingredients needed for this recipe: you need 2 eggs and warm water, about 80 degrees, to make 1½ cups of liquid. You need 1/4 cup of oil, 2 tablespoons of sugar, 2 teaspoons of salt, 2 tablespoons of gluten, and the gluten is optional, 4½ cups of flour, and 2½ to 3 teaspoons of dry yeast. And then after the dough is made, you can add golden raisins, craisins, or currants, or raisins. After the dough is made, they are incorporated. The first part of making the bread is actually from the night before, if you can do it. So you take out 3 eggs. 2 is for the bread itself, and 1 is for the glaze on top. So take those out overnight. If you forget, you can take them and put them in a bowl of warm water for 20 minutes, and that almost brings them up to room temperature. The second thing you're going to need is water to go along with the eggs to make 1½ cups of liquid. I have a 2-cup measuring cup here, and I will first start by putting the eggs in there, and I will crack them. Okay, so because eggs are different sizes, that's why it's add liquid to make 1½ cups. That way the liquid, if the eggs are bigger, you're adding less water, and if the eggs are smaller, you're adding more water. I like to take a fork and mix this up. So the next step is I'm just giving this a little bit of a mix. Of course, it will also get mixed in the bread machine itself. I'm going to set this egg aside because that's for a much later time. And then I'm going to add the liquid to the bread machine first. Okay, this is my new bread machine. It has 2 paddles, so it can make a lot of dough, and I bake a lot, so this is going to be helpful for me. And you always want to make sure that you put this paddle thing into the bread machine, or you will have a blob otherwise. So I always double check, make sure I have these. You need to wash this by hand and make sure you keep track of it. Also, keep track of it if you ever bake regular bread. It'll stick inside. I need to add 1/4 cup of oil. The next step is to add the 2 tablespoons of sugar. And make sure it's level. 1, 2. Next, 2 teaspoons of salt. I usually level this out with a knife, but I only have 2 hands. 2. Okay. It is very important to level out your flour. Really, all your measurements should be leveled out. So I need a little bit more. Go forward and go back. 1, 4½ of flour. Next, I use 2 tablespoons of gluten. Gluten is a type of protein that some people can't digest. And between the bread flour and adding the gluten, this is not gluten-free, but nonetheless, it's very tasty. Okay, and now for the dry yeast. Make a little bit of a nest here, just a little bit, and I add 3 teaspoons. You can see how the bread machine looks with the liquids are down on the bottom and the dry is on the top. And I'm going to show you how to set up the bread machine. Most bread machines will have a guide of the different kinds of bread: basic, French, whole wheat, sweet, super rapid. And you see number 9 says dough, and that's the setting we're going to use. Whatever number it is on your bread machine, set it up for dough. Now you can see that my bread machine is set up for menu number 9, and the time is 1 hour and 50 minutes. And I'm going to put the insert in there. You want to make sure that that clicks down, and I will show that to you. Now the insert is inside the bread machine, and you want to make sure that it's in there tightly and it's not moving at all. And then you close your machine, start. Okay. Here you can see the action of the bread machine, and that on this side you can start to see the liquid mixing together with the flour. If you would like to add currants, raisins, or craisins, which are my favorite, it's a good idea to soak them in some water and then make sure you dry them off about a half an hour before you add them into the dough. And of course, it makes for a sweet New Year. You can see after just a few minutes, really, the dough is starting to form. It starts and stops to let the dough kind of rest down, and then it starts again. This is the pan that I like to use for my bread. As you can see, it has these ridges, and the ridges is what makes the bottom very nice. There are different flavors of cooking spray that you can use on your pan. One of them I have here is just a regular canola oil, and the other one is coconut oil. And I've used both, and they've both been successful for me. You could also use olive oil if you'd like. I like to use sesame seeds, and I've also used poppy seeds. Some people use just a glaze of the egg yolk with a little water, and other people for the holidays will be using some kind of honey as well. So the bread is rising in the machine. Okay, I have the insert from the bread machine out, and there's the dough, and I will be smoothing that out, and I will be dividing it into 2 loaves. So I'm going to take a little bit of flour. I just keep a little bit of flour, and then I'm going to lightly dust my surface here, lightly spread it out, and I'm going to take the dough out. And you can see inside here that the 2 paddles are in there. So you always want to make sure that they're not in the bread. Okay. Just like to, get it together. Now I'm going to make 2 loaves, so I'm going to cut this in half. Okay. Set one aside there, and at this point I'm going to be adding the craisins. You see, it's very stretchy dough, very stretchy dough. Where are my craisins? Here they are. So here they are. Uncover them. This is usually the part where the dog comes. Uh-oh. Because I always drop these things. They're very round, they roll. You coming, Kate? You coming to eat some craisins? They're so good. Come on, Kate. Come on. I try not to have any on the outside because a lot of times they'll burn. Okay. Let's see. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll this out into a little bit of a snake, and then I'm going to let it rest for 15 minutes. We'll cover it with a paper towel. Okay, there it goes. Okay, so after the dough has rested, you'll feel it's much softer and easier to work with. It needs to be rolled out into a long rope, because unlike the braided challah that we usually have on Friday nights, this is going to be round. There are lots of different ways to do things, but this is how I do it. I put my palms and I roll it and I go out. This is to get it to go farther. Okay. The 3 rises makes the inside so nice. Okay, let's roll. Move back, you. Rolling, rolling, rolling. Okay, I'm going to roll this up now. I'm going to roll from the inside to the outside. Make sure I'm in there. Okay, I like to take the last bit and kind of tuck it in there, and then the weight of the bread will be there. So I have this one. Okay, I'm taking the spray. I'm spraying. This is so it won't stick. One in this corner and one in this corner. And the next step is to proof this inside the oven for 1 hour. Okay. The egg has been separated from the yolk, and I used to just use the egg white, but Michael and I told me that using the egg yolk makes it better, and so that's what I do now. A little water in there, and mix it up. So these are what they look like after being proofed in the oven for 1 hour. Okay. Almost the last step is to take the egg wash and put it on. Now the next part is we're taking the sesame seeds and we're shaking them. One of the last steps is to put the bread in the preheated oven at 350 degrees. And I start it off with 20 minutes and then check it and then see how it is. I've got an instant read thermometer and we'll see how it goes. Okay, this is the one's at 190, and this one is also 190. So here we have the finished challah. It's in its round shape, and for New Year's we have the challah, apples, and honey, and everything is ready for a good and sweet year.